Hey guys, welcome back to the Cheer Chats podcast. I'm Gianna, and today I'm joined with
Angeline. And this week's guest was an all-star cheerleader for 14 years and has coached at high school level for 3 years. And in 2015, she was named HPU's head cheer coach, as well as worked as an instructor across the Southeast region for UCA, Universal Cheerleader Association. With 26 years of cheerleading experience, please welcome HPU's head cheer coach, Miss Sydney Smith.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
I love talking cheer. As you can tell, it's been my entire life.
I mean, it's a great way to just bring everyone together. It's an amazing sport that just has taught us so many things and real life expectations, discipline, academics. How did you get into the world of cheer?
Well, I started off really, really young. I was in gymnastics classes from age 3 to 4, and I kind of got bored in those. Gymnastics is very structured. I mean, not that cheerleading isn't, but there's so many different aspects in cheerleading that you can work on that I think that's what some of my gymnastics teachers thought when they saw me. They were like, she needs to be an all-star cheer. She needs to be trying this other stuff. So when I was 4, I started all-star cheerleading and didn't stop a single, there wasn't a year off my whole life until, I guess technically I've been part of some sort of cheer program since I was 4 years old. But yeah, I did all-star cheer until I was 18. And then my all-star coach at the time, she works for varsity and she still does. She's an amazing person. I still look up to her, and she's probably who I kind of mimic my coaching after, I tried to at least. She's the one who introduced me to UCA and got me to try out for that staff. And that's when I started doing instruction across the Southeast and really got to know the sideline cheer and not just the all-star cheer aspect, because my whole life was all-star.
Right.
You know, I didn't do the school stuff, but I was also involved in other sports like volleyball and basketball and soccer, and those all overlapped with the school cheerleading because school cheerleading is such a year-long thing.
Yeah.
And they ask a lot of you, time commitment. So yeah, when I was young, I tried all the things, but cheerleading was always the main consistent thing in my life. Whether it was school, work, or just the all-star fun stuff, I was at cheer.
So what was that moment like for you that you knew you wanted to be a cheer coach? Can you explain a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So when I started instructing, I wasn't coaching at the time for about 2 years. I was just instructing. And you come across, thousands of cheerleaders across the country that come into these camps. I was doing the Panama City Beach camps that are 500 cheerleaders each camp that I'm instructing. Obviously not alone, but I think just seeing what my knowledge and I guess personality too, how it can come to someone that I don't know and build them up just in a shorter period of time, 4 days, and see the change that I can make in somebody's life or just in that team's life. That's when it kind of just started clicking for me that, yeah, I've been a leader on my teams all my life, but maybe I can do more. And I got really lucky. My high school that I went to and cheered at, I think I was 19 at the time, maybe 20. They called me and they were like, hey, we just lost our varsity coach. Our JV is going to move up to varsity. We need somebody to be our JV coach. And I had just moved home from, I went to South Carolina for a year, and I went home and went to UNCG. And I just moved back home, made that big transition. I didn't really know what I was going to do other than obviously go to school. And this opportunity came about to start coaching, and I jumped on it right there.
And so did you always see yourself being a coach or an instructor?
I don't know. When I was a kid and I was cheering, I don't think I realized it was an option for a job. You know what I mean? I thought all these people, they just come in, they like doing this, they're volunteers and stuff. Didn't really know about the instructor side, the UCA and the camps and stuff, because I went to maybe one cheer camp like that in my life because I didn't do the sideline stuff. We did choreography camps, and that's at our gym with people in there telling us what to do, not going off and having fun somewhere. So like really it didn't come about until late teens when I started seeing these instructors in the camps that I was able to be a part of, that I realized it. I think I always knew I wanted to be a leader. Didn't know if it was cheerleading that I was going to be doing that leading in. Ironic. But it turned out that way, and I'm glad it did. Yeah.
What are some of the traits that you have learned over time or gained over time that you think is very crucial for being a coach?
Patience. I mean, I think that can be said for any boss, or it should be at least. I think I'm very different than a lot of coaches that these girls come from. A lot of times the competitive side gets the best of the coaches, and they can be really harsh on the girls. I don't know if it was from me being such a young coach when I started here, because I'm going to be starting this next season, this next tryout will be my 10th team that I've coached here, which is kind of insane to think about. The time has flown. I think I try and come off as someone who is going to listen to you and have patience. But still, I want these girls to push themselves and build on their skill. So it's kind of a balance of what kind of mean am I going to be? You know, what kind of tough love am I going to give? I don't ever want it to come across as like punishments. That's been a big thing of mine is I don't punish the girls. It's not what they're here for. Right. You know what I mean? Now they can see like discipline and consequences of different punishments, whatever you want to say. But I think patience is the main thing. And then focusing on a goal and creating that like team goal of something to focus on. Like if this group over here wants to be better at their cheers and like create more cheers, more dances, more material, and then this group over here just wants to focus on skills and building this new stuff, or this team group over here wants to tumble all the time. Like we got to come together, work together, compromise. And it's kind of, you were mentioning earlier when we were walking up here, like that real life and how it connects with the cheerleading sport in general. Like it teaches you so many life skills in the end, because a lot of these people aren't coming here to continue cheerleading after college. It's not something like you're going to go pro in.
Which should be changed.
Right. And I do think like there are opportunities more than there ever have been for girls that are over the college age. You know what I mean? Like there's still there's some in there still. It's tough.
Yeah.
But physically. But yeah, I think my biggest goal as a coach and the traits that I want to take on is how can I show them where their cheer skills are going to help them in their life.
Yes. I think too, like cheerleading is such a unique sport in the sense that there's that saying, right, about people, those who can do, those who can't teach, right?
Yes.
But I feel like cheerleading is the first, maybe it's not the first of any sport, but it's one of those unique sports where that's like the total opposite. Like you
don't ever really lose it.
Yeah, and to be an efficient coach, you have to understand what it was to be an athlete and
to be in their shoes, Yeah,
and I think that's why, like you mentioned before, like the competitiveness, all that stuff comes into play because you knew you had known at that time what that felt like, and you know what losing feels like, you know what winning feels like, and obviously, and you can attest to this, like winning as a coach is probably 10 times more fulfilling than it ever was when you were an athlete.
Yeah,
but that's why a lot of the traits of coaches are very like hard and competitive, and there are
we
coaches,
get a little taste of that.
Because you know exactly what it was like, and not many sports are like that.
Because they're living it through us too when we're on the mat, supporting us, hyping us up.
There's only so much you can do as a coach, but prepare them.
I can't tell you how many times I've been on the sideline and like mentally my hands like jump out to reach for them, and just it's such a different world being at like the cheerleader compared to the coach.
Maybe talk a little bit about like what are some things that, because obviously the main one is that all you can do is kind of prepare them for that competition, and then it's out of your hands. You have to walk to the front and see what happens. So maybe talk a little bit about like those tiny differences where you're like the control aspect is gone and it's like I can't do anything beyond what they can do.
Yeah, and Honestly, that control aspect, you say that. I'm a bit of a control freak.
As,
so I
as
think
most
that's what
cheerleaders are.
I think that's what drew me to coaching too, is like more control.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are like there's those small things throughout that I don't have any control over. You know, like when
Yeah.
I do send them out at a game and they're on the court performing something that they've only ever practiced and never shown a crowd before. Like, it is nerve-wracking, but I have definitely learned how to build my trust with the girls and how to see it in them. You know, cheerleading's such a mental sport. Like, I'd say it's 50-50 mental, physical, because, you know, not everybody, but most of the girls that have been a part of cheerleading know about a mental block and what it can do. But not just mental blocks, like self-doubt too, when they're, you know, whether it's a flyer or a base or somebody that's lifting them up, just maybe doesn't think it's going to hit. If you don't think it's going to hit when it's going up there, it's not gonna.
Yep.
So I think my biggest thing is seeing that confidence in them. And one of my seniors, everybody knows it on the team, Lizzie, when she hits something for the first time, her face shows it, and it is such a good feeling. And I think the whole team can attest to that, like that you see it in their face that they're going to hit it out there too.
Yeah.
And I kind of just did that with her. She just she had a tough skill. It was like a full up to a lib situation at tournament. She had never performed it on the court by herself, or not by herself, but, you know, to the big audience. And she did it, and she hit it, and it looked great. And I was so proud of her. But it was not touch and go, but like warm ups weren't perfect. But I could see it in them. I knew that they could hit it, and I just kept trying to instill that in them, and they were instilling it in each other too, and they did it.
I think that's one of the most amazing things about the sport, the relationship we have with our coaches too, because we are our own biggest critic when it comes to hitting a stunt,
throwing a back tuck,
back
throwing
tuck.
yourself backwards.
Yeah.
In general.
I mean, I popped my rotating cuff, and I was in the worst pain imaginable, and I couldn't do a single back handspring by putting that pressure. But my coach, even though we didn't see eye to eye on certain things, if there was one thing I can give her credit for, she always pushed me beyond my limits. She made sure that you can do it. It's mental. It's really a big mental block, because I'm like, no, if I don't have a spotter, my body's gonna give out. I'm gonna fall and hurt myself. I just kept saying, no. She's like, you can do it. If you can do this, if you can throw a basket in the air and you can still do a full up, you can do that.
Yeah.
And I did it. And it was at our gym, and I did it just in time before nationals. And that is another thing, pressure. When we have a big game, when we have a competition. This was a season where the men's basketball team was just killing it, game after game after game.
Yeah.
Did that affect the girls in any way on their performance, having a huge crowd like that?
Oh, yeah. I think so, big time. They were just motivated, like hands down motivated to come to practice, to work at practice, and not just talk and dilly-dally and have the fun practices that we do have. But as the season got on and we realized, like, this is different than any other season, we were just trying to prepare the most to look our best. Especially, like, hosting tournament was a really big draw for us, because, one, you get to show off your university, but you also want to, like, show off and show up. Like, you want to prove that you're good to host this and be in the spotlight. And you get to see the other teams. We never get to see the other spirit squads throughout the year. And we finally get to see them at tournament. Most of the time it's very fun, like, and very just friendly. Like, we're nice to each other. We motivate each other, like, say, you know, when they did something good. Like, we had a lot of really great and sweet teams this year, like Gardner Webb and UNC Asheville were really sweet to us. They and the mascots interacting with each other, that too, just getting to see it from another college team's perspective and what they do and what we do and that kind of stuff was really fun and motivating for the girls.
It's a very sweet environment. I mean, I know there's a lot of stigma about it being very competitive between another cheer squad and, like, bring it on. But it's actually really fun. I know that when I went to, like, away games, it would either, depending on which school you are going to, you are going to bump heads with them. But then there are just other teams where I remember one time they just made us a basket because we were visiting their home.
Yeah.
And I thought that
and just
I
like
have
welcome
never
you
experienced that. Right.
with open arms. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, high school and college is so different. Can you explain the difference between high school and collegiate level?
Yeah, for sure. There's differences mainly in obviously the age and just the fact that the parents are way more involved with the high school level. But when it comes to the strictly just the girls themselves and the creativity and the motivation, I think when they get to college and if they're trying out for a cheer team or if they're going to college for that, they know it. That's what they want to do. I think high school, it's most of the time something to try. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's girls like us that have done All-Star and we really wanted to be a part of cheering. Like that's the reason we're there, not just to try it. But high school is still a time for everybody to be figuring out what their priorities are. Mm-hmm. And I think I definitely saw it, especially coaching JV. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're just fresh into high school, figuring it out. It was very tough just going, not tough. It was easy going from that maturity level up to the college level. I think I could not go backwards.
Okay.
I don't think I would want to coach any younger girls. I love being able to treat the college girls as adults and respect them like adults, and not have to worry as much about rules and, like...
There's a lot of responsibility that comes with being a collegiate athlete more so.
Yeah. They take on that responsibility that maybe their parents were having, like time management. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if your mom's taking you to practice or picking you up from practice, then that's really controlled by your parents. Mm-hmm. But here they got to set their alarms and leave their dorm room and get themselves to practice. And that's just one small aspect of it. But at the college level too, we were talking about how they were like more motivated to be better. I think we see a motivation in high school cheerleaders, but it's only if they're competing.
Yes.
I don't think if that school is just the sidelines, well, maybe their football team's awesome and like that can motivate them and stuff, but it doesn't necessarily transfer into the skills level. Mm-hmm. They could be great sideline game day cheerleaders and have the look, but maybe not the skill. But I think for the competition to be in there is key for a high school to have the same kind of feel as a college level. Yes. Where, I mean, for us, it's for the last 9 years, it's been tournament is what we look forward to.
Right.
Which is not, I mean, it's fun. Not everybody gets to go to tournament, so it's a little bit competitive within the team itself because I'm only allowed to take 14 girls, and we usually have a team of either like 18 to 22 girls. Mm-hmm. So that is competitive within themselves, but we've not gotten the opportunity to get on a competition floor yet with me here. It's definitely a goal of mine.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about it later. But they still have a motivation to look good for their students and for their university. There's like 5 pillars of being a cheerleader. I don't know if you guys ever learned them. Gosh, I hope I know them off the top of my head. It's ambassador, athlete, entertainer, spirit raiser. Oh gosh, and one more. I can't think of it right now.
That's okay.
But it's like we take on different, not just that
That's one role.
Flipping around and throwing stunts up in the air. We're trying to get out in the community too and be seen there and be seen as a positive role model. And that's another thing that college cheerleaders, I think, have a bit more pressure on them for is they're being looked at on a grander scale.
Right.
The whole community is able to look at them if they're paying attention, if they're following our Instagram or if they're coming to our games or seeing us at campus events, things like that. They're very aware that they're being not necessarily watched, but
looked up
noticed.
to.
Yeah. They are supposed to be role models for this university and represent the school and what we stand for. And that's something I try and remind them and instill in them each year as a coach. High school, community is definitely a big thing for your high school. And that, yes, you're being looked at, but it's a grander scale for sure on the college level.
Right. What do you think was the biggest change in coaching between different squads?
Each year's different. I have to kind of assess the group I have and then just adjust for that group. When I first started here, it's night and day, the kind of teams I have now. Just the last 3 years mainly is the biggest improvement. I don't know if that's necessarily because of COVID, because I had that break and a gap of release. I mean, we still had the team during COVID. We just didn't have anything to cheer at. Anyways, between each one, I think it definitely depends on the number, the size of the squad. The smaller the squad, the more they're going to depend on each other. And that's really what I've realized the last few years. I had a really large team a couple years ago, and it was really hard to come together as a cohesive unit with our thought process. Like, we all wanted the same end goal. Everybody wants to be a better team. Everybody wants to build skill. Everybody wants to look good for the university. But with the large size and like the number of girls that I had, it was easily to like break off into groups and form opinions together, which is fine, but it can cause drifts.
Yeah.
So I tried to start narrowing it down a little bit more and trying to make them depend on each other a little more too. Like, if if your flyer's not here for practice, that hurts your whole group kind of thing. Where with a larger team, like, oh, we can just pop in her. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody's fine. So it gives this like false sense that it's okay to miss certain things, or I don't necessarily have to be there. It'll be all right if I'm not there because they got other people. I wanted to really give them a sense like, hey, you guys are for each other.
Yep.
Let's keep it that way.
I think
Like taking accountability.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting to hear you say that, because I guess I never thought of it that way. Because
I don't think I did either. Before I realized it, I just kept, that's where I got to that. I had 25, 26 people on the team.
Yeah.
Because I was like, more. We need more.
And like the biggest, I guess the reason I never thought of that is because in the all-star world, it's having alternates and having so many people on a team is so common, because for the reason you're saying, where it's like if someone misses a practice, someone else will step in. But it's funny, like, hearing you say that in such an innocent way, because I feel like in my head, it's like, oh, that person, like, because I'm missing that practice, that person's going to take my spot. And so it's like a whole different mental game between sideline and all-star.
And that's, I think, where I saw it. Because girls would come here from an all-star background, from that competitive background, where that was the mentality they had. And so when they did miss a practice and another flyer flew for them, or if it was just I had two flyers switching out with this one group because that's the way the numbers worked out, they fear for their spot when I'm not looking at it that way.
Yeah, it's like a trauma that comes with
it is.
all-star
That's why
cheerleader.
I kind of started off saying I'm such a different coach than what a lot of these girls are used to.
Yeah.
I hope it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it can have our faults. Like, it's probably why we haven't competed. But it's like, I feel like I'm building my blocks. You know, I'm building the base.
Yeah, I think the thing that people don't realize is, like, your coach is a lot more important than just being able to be your coach. Like, there's, especially on the all-star end, like, even from personal experience, like, I've had coaches that have traumatized me, for better or worse, you know, and like having a coach like that probably is like, so, at least if it were me, like, that would be so healing in a way, because it's trauma. Like, it really is trauma. Like, you just grow up thinking, like, because it's the way coaches talk to you. And that's why, like, having a good attitude like you have is so important for, like, the mental aspect. It sucks that you have to get to a collegiate level for people to start treating you like you're half a human, because I feel like those formative years when you're younger are so much more important for people to kind of be around you and be like, I'm not going to get rid of you. Like, you're enough and all of that.
Yeah. You're enough. That's such a big thing for me, which is also hard. Like, tryouts is my absolute hardest time of the year, every single year for myself, like, mentally. It is so hard for me to break girls' hearts. I mean, they come here and they have this hope, and I mean, I'm telling you, I go home after tryouts every single year and I cry. Like, I can't help it, because I know what my decision is having an effect on. Yeah, I feel like that's also another thing that motivates me to coach, is knowing that I can be a different kind of coach than what these girls have come from. And to think about it, I don't know if I ever necessarily had a really traumatizing coach. I don't think I did.
Which is,
I mean, I had
amazing.
I had
Oh my
mental
gosh.
blocks. I had scary choreographers, and I had scary private teachers and stuff like that, but nothing that was traumatizing. But I think I've just been so engulfed in the cheer life that I know it. I know it exists, and I've seen it too. It's also why I only cheered at Carolina Spirit Athletics. Like my mom was very specific about who I was exposed to, what groups I was exposed to because of stories that we had heard, kind of things. So, I mean, I'm thankful for all of that. It's given me my perspective and I guess my, like, way of coaching.
What was, like, just out of curiosity, like I mentioned before, like, you have some all-star people that have come over. What was maybe the wildest story you've ever heard of, like, an experience that someone had with a coach that is like the antithesis of what you promote?
I mean, there's so many things. I think my very first experience with having to adjust how I coached. It was my first year coaching here, and I tied a cheerleader's shoes together. Her shoes, like she was flying, and she wouldn't keep her feet together. And I trust. She's a tiny little girl. Her bases are strong. Like they're putting her up in a QP. She knows what she's doing. They're not going to drop her. She was safe. You know what I mean? I was like, this is more so just to show you how much you're pulling your feet apart kind of thing.
And it's not a weirdly uncommon drill.
Right.
Yeah.
She immediately had a mental breakdown. Not mental breakdown, but like crying, could not do it. She couldn't handle it. And it was because a coach had done that to her in the past and she had a severe fall or something from it or a traumatic experience from it. And it wasn't because of what I had just done. It was just more of like a trigger.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of those in cheerleading, like tumbling. And I think you mentioned like spotters, like having that mental.
Yeah. Because
like,
you feel like
block.
they're gonna be there.
You need that person there.
That. Yeah.
And it's typically because they've fallen when somebody wasn't there kind of thing. And it's like, okay, well now I need that person. So it's more of, I see it not when it's too late, but something will happen and one of my cheerleaders will come up to me and just be like, man, my coach in high school would have just done this and then like ripped me a new one or made us all run or told me that I was fat or told me that I couldn't do this or, you know what I mean? Just put you down or talk badly about them. And it's also, I'm sure it's the way the world is changing too. I think we're all so much more aware of it.
And we're learning to like give grace where traumas exist, which I think wasn't a thing that even outside of the cheer world in the real world,
and
like
it still exists.
It was not,
There's still so many coaches out there that don't give grace.
And like you said, Gianna, like that is very healing to have a coach like you,
I hope so.
who is able to accommodate to that because it was right in preseason before football, started to happen in like September, beginning of the school year, and our coaches got fired, and we have not went into competition level. We have never went to nationals with them, not even states. We have a new set of coaches coming in, and she came from All-Star, competitive.
Yeah.
And we were not used to that. It was very new for us to go at that regional level, that national level. So with every practice, with every drill, it had to be perfect. And for when you are doing your tryouts, you're also trying out for the competition floor. And so I was so nervous because she invited her mom, who was a judge, her friend, who was a judge. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
All these intimidating factors. Yeah.
And she never told us. It was just, we found out, and it was absolutely nerve-wracking because we are just varsity level. We have not stepped floor on a single professional mat. And I remember, not seeing my name on the list. And it was because I was very new to it compared to other girls who did come in at like 4 years old, 5 years old, have been cheering for All-Star since. And I just spoke to her privately. I said, is there anything I can work on? And she told me, she was like, you were the first person who came up to me to ask what you could work on. She shared her notes with me. And I practiced. And then the following season, I made it to the competition mat. So
that's so awesome.
Her way, because I assumed she was so authoritative because she did have that drive, that mindset of we have to win. And she had her moments like that. But she also gave us the opportunity and that respect
your voice.
What can we work on? What can we do as a team to get where we need to be? And that is just so admirable because she was able to understand where we were coming from. where we did not have the experience that she had, and we were at different levels. And for you to accommodate to that, that is just very admirable and really
Thank you.
appreciative.
I'm happy you had like an experience like that, like a turnaround. I feel like, because we talked about this before the podcast started, I did all-star only, never did sideline. And I have more bad stories than I do good about the coaches that I've had. And just like what you were saying about how she like listened, I was literally listening to you say that and I was just like in awe over here, being like, wow, that must be nice. I will say when I made the move to Cheer Extreme, that became, I realized for the first time that coaches can act that way.
Yeah.
And they can be collaborative and can listen to you. I grew up in the program that I grew up. I didn't think what I said mattered
You were
really
just
at
like
all.
a little soldier.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna, name drop, get into the trauma. Maybe that will be a different episode. but they made me feel like I didn't know that was like possible. And so, sorry, little side note, but I like that story.
Honestly, when I was thinking about when I was coming here, what all the stuff I wanted to talk about, that was a big difference, I think, between high school and college, is the girls that want to voice or want to have a voice. I think in high school, there's only ever like maybe 2 or 3 that really speak up. But in college, it's the full team, or at least maybe that's what I'm allowing. I want to hear all of their voices, and I want them to but know they are being heard and accounted for. I don't see that as much in high school. I don't know many high school coaches or cheerleaders that feel like they have a big voice, other than, like those few, like the captains, of course, they always have their voices, but does the rest of the team too? I always try and make sure that the girls know, like, yes, these are our captains and they're going to help us. They're here for all of you guys, but all of you have a voice. And I think our teams over the past few years, we've really established that. And I think it's now just a common known thing that this team is here for each other, which I'm really happy about that I've built that up for them.
Oh, that's so amazing. Like, just hearing that,
I'm telling you,
those girls they're so lucky.
It's healing a little bit of me. I'm not gonna lie.
It is. No, it is. Because you said previously you just want to keep moving forward, and you want to move forward with your team, your girls. What is that vision like for you?
Well, I definitely know that they want to compete and I want to compete. It'll be my 10th season. I think we should. And I really think I'm finally ready for the team to do it, to take that next step and get their feet on a floor. I think it's taken me this long because I am so competitive. I know what the judges are looking for. I know what needs to be seen out there. And I know what the other teams look like too. And I think I've just been waiting, and this old analogy, like preparing the crops for rain kind of thing. And I have told them, I really do truly think that this is finally the type of program that I can see going on to a competition floor. The biggest thing I needed to see from them the past few years is commitment and retaining my numbers, retaining the same girls on the team that are coming back for each other year after year. And we definitely have that. I'm really proud of them, that's for sure. And I really hope that we see them at next year.
Oh,
that's keep a lookout for HPU Cheer.
Yeah. Yes. So where can we get these and receive these updates from the
The biggest one is our Instagram account. It's HPU_cheer. That's when we keep most updated, and we'll always put our tryout information and any clinics or open gyms that we're going to have, we'll put on there first, on our stories, and we'll keep it up there too on our highlights. They'll update the website too. You can find us on highpointpanthers.com. It's under the band, cheer, and dance spirit squad section. That'll have our tryout application and medical packet, all of that kind of stuff too. But Instagram's the best one for day-to-day, what's happening right now with the program. Coming up the second week of April, we have the HPU Day of Giving and cheerleading. You can always donate to High Point Athletics and put in under cheerleading, the HPU Cheer. and it'll go directly to the Cheers funds to help us either get new mats or new flags, new uniforms, new whatever. Send us to nationals maybe. Who knows? Yeah. We could always use it. But yeah, I'm really excited about what this program has yet to come for them. And I think our basketball team was a really good, like both women and men's was a good little precursor for us. Like, hey, High Point's moving up.
Yes.
Watch out.
Yes.
Like, yeah, we are D1. We're here.
We are here to stay.
Don't sleep on the Panthers.
Well, congratulations on, again, a successful year.
Thank you.
I mean, the girls were phenomenal. I have a few friends from one of my media classes who was on the team, Jordan.
Yeah.
She did amazing. She's adorable. I just saw her flying, and I'm like, yes,
she's one of the
Jordan.
most dedicated girls. I love her.
Yes, and she came from high school cheer that I know of. And just here on the floor, your girls are passionate.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it on the floor every single time
Definitely.
at every game. They've always brought the energy. And that's what I miss about cheering. They brought the whole school and community together. And I think what you do is very admirable, and I admire your work.
Thank you guys.
And thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
Really
thank you.
appreciate you.
It's been really, really exciting to hear your take on coaching.
I'm hoping this spring to have at least a couple open gyms just for
Yeah.
literally
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
You know, if you're a student at HPU, come hang out, come stunt with us, come see what it's like. I mean, I know it's tough, like that I do have to cut so many and I only have a small team, but I'm so glad we finally have a club team here and have that other outlet for when I can't take you, because we have such strict skill requirements
Right.
and time commitment. Like we went from mid-August until just now, like last week. And we're still not completely done with like appearances and things like that for the year. So
Yeah. Full schedule.
it is a full year, a full semester, or full 2 semesters. But yeah, I'm so glad we have that club cheer team now and that we can all just have a great community of cheerleaders and a space for the students to come and do the thing that they've loved their whole life probably. Because you don't really just stop loving cheer.
No.
No.
No. Thank you so much again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been great. I love
this has
talking
been
cheer.
so fun.
Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to follow us at Cheer Chats Pod on Instagram and Facebook.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.